My goodness, and welcome back to another amazing interview by the Wolf and the Crows. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of dancing. Yeah.
So,
Like,
your jig.
yeah. Who are you talking to?
We had on none other than Ross Mullan, another convention favourite, good friend to Miltos, and
Yes.
White Walker from season 2, 3, and 4. The White
From
Walker.
one of my favourite scenes in Game of Thrones. White Walker wise, anyway.
Which one?
The baby.
The baby?
Yeah. It's fucked up. It's fucked up.
He may or may not that.
Do you want to see a big, like, ice demon carrying an incest baby across the ice? Yeah. We'll watch it now on Game of Thrones. It's Ross doing it. Great. Class.
He's also in Doctor Who and some other cool stuff. But we'll let him tell you all about it. So check out the video. Valor Magulis, guys, and welcome back to another episode in our series of Game of Thrones interviews, bringing you the guys and girls that went into the making of the awesome show that is indeed Game of Thrones. Today we have one of the original White Walkers, none other than Ross Mullan himself, who was instrumental in the earlier seasons with the big reveals of the bringing the White Walkers and their story to us. So Ross, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Keeping keeping busy, yeah.
Keeping busy in our homes.
And thanks again for agreeing to come on to the show to give us this interview. One of the fan favorites. I'm sure the fans are going to enjoy this one.
Cool.
Especially with conventions sort of being on the quiet side or non-existent this year. Yeah. So we'll start you off. I believe you started off your career in mask and physical theatre work. What sort of inspired you or motivated you to get into that field?
Well, it's a hard, I when I was a little kid, when I was very small, when I was about 5, I wanted to be a cartoon character. My mom said, no, you can't be a cartoon character, but you can be an actor. Once I got that into my head, I didn't look back really and pushed and pushed and pushed until my parents eventually got me lessons in acting and I went to drama school and all of that took place. But what I quickly noticed when I was in drama school, and I guess my teachers really picked up on, is I was a very physical actor. I'm very tall. I was very lanky when I was younger too. I was pretty good at dance, not great at choreography, but I had a very physical quality to myself. And I excelled in mask theater, really, when I was in drama school. And then a job came up just in my last year of drama school, which was for a mask theater company in Canada called Odyssey Theater in Ottawa. And I worked for them for almost 4 years, really, before I moved over to the UK. And then when I moved to the UK, I just saw an ad in the newspaper, the Henson Creature shop in Camden here in London, which is no longer, was looking for new Muppeteers to train up. So I basically went and applied and got, taken on as an apprentice. So those are how I kind of got into it. I think with acting, you can pursue things, but ultimately what you excel at and what you're good at should find you really along the way. You'll find your niche, and I kind of say yes to everything. So I've never really been a no man. So, I've done everything from musical theater to Shakespeare to, commercials, puppeteering, you name it. I think I've done it pretty much.
I mean, is there any element of that you prefer to work in, the puppeteer work or the theater or, doing mask stuff for TV and film or?
Well, I went back to the theater company last year and I did a show with them in Ottawa just last summer. I hadn't worked with them for 30 years. It was great to be back. It was great to be back on stage and to be working with masks again, like those proper sort of little masks you can take on and off. Yeah. Do I have a preference? I don't really know. It's really difficult to say. You know, projects come up and you immerse yourselves in them. I really enjoy doing creature work in film and television, but it's hard on your body, you know, and I'm getting older. I'm 53 now. It's a young man's game. It's very hot, very long hours.
Yeah.
Can be very physically challenging. I like to use my face a bit more. But you know, it's so great to be attributed or connected to really iconic characters and freaky sort of monsters. You know, that my 4-year-old self who wanted to initially go into this industry, who loved watching the monsters in Scooby-Doo, would be blown away by the fact that I was playing monsters in film and television, you know, like, so I've always got to remember that. But do I have a favorite? I don't really know. I love a good script, and I have a great script, which I'm working on right now. I'm not writing it, but I'm going to be filming it once I'm done, you know, lockdown. So, yeah.
I suppose it's good to have the variety as well. It feels that the work in keeps it fresh.
Yeah, I'm not a traditional actor. You know, I'm very tall. You know, I didn't have traditional good looks when I was in my 20s. So I had no leading, you know, I wasn't a leading man. And I just kind of took work where it came, you know, like you know, people wanted to cast me in something. I'd be like, sure. They want to put me in a lot of makeup. Sure. I played a lot of vampires and, you know, monsters and bad people, evil people. I have a face that kind of lends itself to being mean, I guess. I don't know. I did a lot of comedy too. You know, I've done some really weird comedy stuff too. So
like stand-up comedy as well as
I've done stand-up comedy. I've done when I first moved to London in the early 90s, I used to do like a stand-up comedy in cabaret clubs with a partner, her and I. And we would do these like kind of crazy clown, dirty sort of Grimm's fairy tale clown versions mixed with heavy metal music or like some pop music. They're really crazy. You know, I'm just not really a traditional person, you know, so I kind of would do anything, you know. You know, if you look at my CV, you'll see it's mixed up with a lot of crazy stuff. You know, I'll play devils to drag queens. I don't really mind. I'm an actor, you know, so of course I don't, you know, my big thing is I don't really care if I'm, you know, I don't care what it says. It's just kind of like, as long as it's cool and it's not me, really. But then having said that, I like playing roles that are kind of close to home as well. That's also fun.
So can you talk us through how you actually landed the role of a White Walker on Game of Thrones?
Absolutely. Well, I had worked in Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
With you know, Warner Brothers cast me in that. That was my first big movie. I was playing one of the witches in that. The makeup team was headed by Connor O'Sullivan, who is a brilliant makeup artist. He worked in, he still works in film and television. And I played one of the witches. The makeup was very difficult, really, really long hours, really hard labor. It was boiling hot. I nearly died. I didn't think I'd make it through, and I vowed I would never do another prosthetics job as long as I lived.
It was that bad.
About a year after that, Connor got in touch with me and said, "Hi, would you be interested in working on Game of Thrones?" which was going into its second season. I'd never heard of it. I said, I'm reluctant after working on Clash of the Titans. He said, I promise you, if this works out, it won't be nothing like that. It'll be much easier. So I went along to the audition. I showed up at Nina Gold's office and I said, I'm here for King of Thrones. Said, it's called Game of Thrones. I said, oh, right. Wow. Okay. I thought it was a TV show. Is it a game? Because then I thought it was like some game, like a motion capture game or something.
Yeah.
So she said, no, it's really popular and it's doing really well on TV. It's an HBO show. And I went, oh, okay. And then I thought, I'm not going to get this because I'm not in the loop. But got into the audition room. They had a lot of sketches that their storyboard artist had laid out, a guy called William, who I've since met. Loads of beautiful drawings of what the White Walker would look like. They described the character to me. They also had photographs of warriors and tribal warriors all over the world, from Africa to South America to America, all kinds of versions and variations of what they thought, or maybe they thought they wanted from the character. The White Walker had already made an appearance in season 1, very briefly.
Yeah.
They had cast 2 actors, Spencer Wilding and Ian White. They're much taller and bigger than me. I think the idea was they wanted to recast it because what they wanted was a White Walker on a horse. And very, very, very big guys make horses look smaller. So I'm tall, but they wanted somebody a little bit more formed, I think. And a little bit slighter. They wanted someone slimmer too, because then you can make the character look slimmer. You know, the bigger you are, it's harder to wear a bodysuit that makes the character look slimmer.
Yeah. Ian's a big guy. Ian went on to play one of the giants. He
did, yes. He's a good friend of mine. He was also in Clash of the Titans with me.
Was he?
The Jin Warriors, yes. Actually, a lot of cast of Game of Thrones are in Clash of the Titans. There's Liam Cunningham. There's somebody else too. I think James Cosmo's in it as well. Anyway, I diverse, but yes, basically they wanted me to show them how I thought that this character would move creatively. And this is kind of what I did for Clash of the Titans too. They described the witch to me, and then I just kind of improvised in front of the camera how I thought the character would move. They gave me like one of those inner tubes for wrapping paper that you get at Christmas time as a sword. They asked me if I can sword fight, which I can. They asked me if I could ride a horse, which I cannot. So we had discussions back and forth about that. I said to them categorically, I will not go on set and just hop on a horse. So we agreed that if, I was to go ahead with the job, that they would send me out on horseback riding lessons. And after I did a few stuff with this sword and pretending there was a baby on the ground and I was going to do awful things to this baby. And then I was a little bit silly and I pretended I was going to kill the baby, and then I kissed the baby, and they were like, okay, that's just ridiculous. But, I'm a bit of I'll do anything, right? So I kind of showed them a whole lot of options. They liked that, and they offered me the job. And they just said, if you're not afraid of horses, we'll send you out on horseback riding lessons. So I was very blessed to go out and work with the Devil's Horsemen for 4 months every year before I would shoot, and ride with stunt guys. And so I added a new skill to my CV, and got the job, and there I was suddenly, and then I was watching Game of Thrones going, okay, so what is this? If it's not a game, what is this? I watched the show and I was like, oh, wow, this is a good show. Saw the season finale of season 1. And I knew that my scene in season 2 was going to be the season finale, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw the end of season 1, I thought, oh, okay, wow, these guys have really invested in their season finale, Yeah. So my season finale is going to be something. And I also realized, there was nothing like my character really on the show. So I kind of realized, wow, this is going to be a little bit different. I had no idea it was going to just blow my whole career into a completely different direction. But that's the way things go,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned there about working on Clash of the Titans as a shadow. You've also worked a bit in Doctor Who. I believe you're the Silence and the Teller when Peter Capaldi was the Doctor. And you also do a bit of puppeteer work. Bev the Bear, is it the BBC show?
Nev the Bear.
How did working on Thrones compare to working on Clash of the Titans or Doctor Who, or the BBC stuff?
Well, they all work so. Clash of the Titans. Okay, I'll just be really honest with you. Clash of the Titans was just complete mayhem for me because I couldn't see anything. I could only breathe through my mouth. I was literally dying on set, and I don't even, they literally had to carry me off set at one point and cut me out of my suit. It was so appalling and horrible. If it wasn't for Richard Zanuck, who was the executive producer, who was the son of Daryl Zanuck, who I think discovered 20th Century Fox. Richard Zanuck saved my life, basically. He stepped in and he was like, oh man, we're killing you, we're fucking killing you. We gotta stop doing that. We're gonna fix it. And so he ordered, the set to, he just said, listen, whatever you need, I'm gonna tell them that, when you speak, that's me speaking. So that was what we were very fortunate. There was 3 of us playing the witches, and that set was chaos. Unfortunately, in the very beginning, the first week of shooting was when we were shooting this particular scene, and it was absolutely crazy chaos for me. That was my experience, with an amazing executive producer who grabbed hold of the reins and very quickly made it so that I didn't die. And when I went to the premiere, he said to me, see, I didn't kill you. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, Doctor Who were already established when I went in. Game of Thrones had already been running for a season, and Doctor Who's been running for many seasons.
Yeah.
They ran like clockwork. They also have, a movie's very different. You got to get it done in a few weeks, A TV show is different. You want longevity in it. You want the thing to be going and going. So Dave and Dan on Game of Thrones were awesome. I mean, they have a real clear vision about what they wanted. So for my first appearance on the show, they were hands-on pretty much. I mean, I had a director, but it was like their little baby. They wanted the first scene with the White Walker to be absolutely perfect and have, maximum impact to the audiences. So we worked on that for 4 days. And that scene is only less than 2 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
Doctor Who, an amazing set. I mean, they know what they want. They know their audience. They know how to pitch it. They know what their fans want. And they're also challenged. They like to challenge their audiences too, to think in new ways with new doctors and new concepts. So both, they're all very different, but nobody sets out to make a movie or a TV show badly, especially when you're working with these big people. But if you've ever been on set, you'll know that, it's one thing, you can only plan so much in a room or pre-shooting, you can only plan so much. The minute you start shooting something, the minute you start rolling with the camera, a whole pile of obstacles are put in your way, and you just have to deal with them. And whether you are equipped or professional enough or have had the experience to deal with them or not is the question. With all 3 of those, without a question, they could grab hold and run with it and know what to do, So although Clash of the Titans was hard and difficult, ultimately, I was working with professionals and could trust them. I didn't feel like it was an unsafe place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with regards to your makeup and prosthetics on Game of Thrones, could you talk us through sort of what your daily routine would have been, or how you would get yourself in the zone, or what would be your process for getting in the character as a White Walker?
Well, you're in makeup for 5 hours, so I would get to the studio at 1 o'clock in the morning, and the makeup team would have been there for about an hour, so they're there first. I'm in makeup for 5 hours, and then I'm ready to get onto camera. The last thing that goes in is my contact lenses, which cover my whole eye, so they're put in by an optometrist, and they're built only specifically for my eyes. They're put in and they're taken out by an optometrist, mostly because my hands are covered in makeup and goop, but also, I struggle with them. Once your camera ready, they bring you down onto set to just talk you through how they're going to be shooting and to start a rehearsal. It's pretty self-explanatory when you're playing the White Walker. You don't have any lines. So you just have a quick glance of yourself in the mirror. You just know exactly how the character is supposed to be. Of course, being a bit of I'm a bit fun on set and I like to goof around a bit. I was doing all the other things to make people laugh, like doing little dances and being ridiculous. But then, you have to shoot the stuff and what's needed. It's pretty self-explanatory. The character, we tried all kinds of different walks with him too. When he first started walking in season 3, when you didn't see him on the back of the horse, Michelle McLaren by then was directing me in the scenes, and she was like, oh, maybe he walks like a tiger, like really stealthily. And we tried all kinds of things, which just looked absolutely ridiculous. Like they looked super funny. Because less is more with a character like that. You just move slowly and still. The makeup speaks for itself. Getting into character. Yeah, it's not hard with that. I'm completely covered head to toe in makeup, but I'm barefoot, and that alone makes you feel something very different. When you're walking through a forest barefoot, says something about your sanity. Sorry, I'm just you feel slightly savage. Being on a horse bareback without a saddle, barefoot, is also quite savage feeling. You're like on the back of this animal, barefoot, and there's something that tells you that you're, a wild creature.
Yeah, really, I suppose like a primal feeling, sort of.
Yeah, it's a primal feeling, and there's definitely a primal feeling around it. Knowing, I just always kept in my mind knowing that, I've come for the baby, basically. I've come for more babies to change into White Walkers, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then you're just working at sort of stylistically what works, with the director, the cameraman, the shots. You try different things, try things that work, try things that don't work. There's a lot of stuff that are, a lot of stuff that you don't see that may have worked or may not have worked,
Yeah. The baby theme runs across a couple of your scenes. We were saying earlier how you're instrumental in some of the biggest reveals, the stories of the White Walkers. So in season 2, the end of season 2, the finale, we have the reveal. Obviously, Sam and the Watcher north of the wall, he gets separated, hides behind the rock, and we've got that fantastic epic scene of you on horseback, just with the speed, and it reveals then the vastness of the size of the White Army that are marching south. Season 3, then episode 8, the audience learn about the dragon glass, the ability. Again, we sort of stealthily come out of the woods, grab Sam's sword, and it turns the ice and shatters. And then you're heading over to Gilly and the baby, obviously to take the baby away from her. And Sam then kills you with the dragon glass, and the audience, dragon glass has some effect on these guys that were, maybe thought to be invincible before then. And then after your season 4, then after your death, you came back in season 4 to deliver the baby to the Night King, and we learn that that's how he makes White Walkers, by sort of touching babies. So I mean, how was it filming them scenes in comparison to what the audience seen as the final version on the screen, and working with John Bradley and Hannah?
Well, the first season we shot all of that in Shepperton Studio on green screen, so we weren't outside; it was all inside. On a massive green screen. So it was boiling hot, me and a hot horse. We had a number of zombie dead people walking around. And I had John, which I was surprised, actually. We had John Bradley. He had actually shot all of his stuff, his perspective, when they were in Iceland.
Yeah.
But the stuff with me, it was basically a camera turnaround, and we would shoot it all in studio. But he was there. He was there on set, and he was actually behind the camera, giving me my eye line, and just there for, to help out. When we shot season 3, that was all in a forest up in Northern Ireland. And it was me, Hannah Murray, and John Bradley. And wonderful to work with them. I loved Hannah in Skins. She was like my favorite character. So it was great to work with her and meet her. Yeah, that set was cold, although that snow is not real. It was cold. It was night. It was Northern Ireland in October, as you know. It's not necessarily warm. Yeah, that was a good. It was good. It was a good three night shoot, I think. Like we shot it over 3 nights, you know, and it was a very short scene again.
Yeah.
Trying all kinds of things. It was creepy that because it was night and we're shooting it at night, you know, that's always a creepy sort of feeling. And Hannah's brilliant at playing, you know, terrified for her baby acting. So that was great. And then season 4 was interesting because, you know, I was asked to come back. They were originally going to get me to play this soldier and also the Night King. They wanted me to, that was the original concept. They were like, we're going to get you to play both. And I was a bit like, well, how's this going to work? When I got the script, I was a bit, okay, like this is going to be a lot of time in makeup. It doesn't sound like it's going to work. But they, you know, they were trying to budget things and figure things out. I think ultimately they decided that was a bad idea, which is good. And they cast Richard Brake as the Night King. So we were both in makeup together. Richard remains a good friend of mine today. We do a lot of conventions together. Yeah, that was that was all shot outdoors, but a lot of it was green screen. So we were on a very big field with a giant green screen all around us for the backdrop. But we were actually using real ice, weirdly. So there's like these big ice sculpture things. So that when I lay the baby down on the ice from where Richard then picks the baby up from, that's an actual ice block, which was melting, fast over a series of days.
Yeah, you'd imagine the ice wouldn't last long, so I suppose that puts extra pressure on getting the
shots. Well, they were, you know, it was melting. It was cold enough to keep it to a certain degree, but it was a very, very, very sunny day. So they would cover it with these, you know, these things to keep it cool. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard carrying a little baby, an actual little baby, across a field, exposed, and laying this little baby down on actual ice. Both Richard and I were a bit like, oh my God, like, is this okay? Are you sure? You know, which must have probably looked very unusual in itself, considering we looked like monsters going, oh no, like, are you sure? Because it's a baby, right? Like, you don't want to hurt a baby. And the baby, you know, when I lay him down, it's, you know, they said, lay the baby down on the ice and walk away. And it's a big, you know, it's a big it's a big space. You would never in a million years think to go and lay a baby down, exposed, open, anywhere and walk away. It's just not a natural thing to do. But we had to do it. And the mother, of course, was there. And so it was, you know, so she was like, it's okay. It's okay. Just, you know, it's all right. We're all, you know, and the baby's just like, I'm just a baby. So it was odd. It's hard, you know, emotionally. It was very tough to remain emotionally distant from it. Same with Richard, you know, he was, you know, he was also like, wow, I've got to pick this baby up. And he's got kids of his own. He's got a baby now, I know. So he wants to be as gentle as possible. But, you know, also you can't look like you care a lot about this baby.
Yeah.
It was the same when I was carrying the baby on horseback to him.
So was
we couldn't actually...
Was it an actual real baby on horseback?
No. You cannot carry a baby on a horse, like under any circumstances. So it's a rubber baby. But for very close-ups, it is the baby. So what we would do is Michelle McLaren said we just got on the back of a pickup truck. I sat on a barrel and she kind of dirtied the screen with a bit of Hessian from the baby's thing.
Yeah.
And they angled the camera so it was kind of looking up at me. And they put the fan on, blew some fake snow into it, and then Michelle McLaren just bounced the pickup truck, basically. And they would film it. So it looked like I was on a horse. And I said to her afterwards, I said, wow, that's really, and she went, like a student film? And I went, yeah. She said, hey, we've all done student films. So I know that if I bounce a pickup truck, it looks like it's horse riding. So, we just kind of made do with what we could when the baby was there. Yeah, you just kind of improvise a little bit. So those are my moments on set, like that's how we kind of shot things. We shot a whole lot of stuff that last season that I was on, like a whole pile of stuff of me coming out of a big storm. My horse ended up rearing as well. So, thankfully I did not have a baby with me, just this rubber baby. It was crazy, also dangerous, but it's part of shooting. I fell off my horse as well. I think if you go into Game of Thrones bloopers on YouTube, you can see me falling off my horse. They caught that on camera. But each season had its... Sorry?
You didn't injure yourself from that?
No, I didn't. I just fell flat on my face. Everybody was really worried, and they all ran around and picked me up, and they were like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And they were like, wow, that was really funny. Sorry. It does look pretty funny. I just kind of rock up, stop, and just face plant. I was trying to kind of get off the horse in one fell swoop while holding a rubber baby and landing on the ground, which I eventually mastered, but they didn't use it in the ultimate cut.
Something that wasn't addressed in the show or the books was after season 3, obviously we learned that the White Walkers could be killed by the dragon glass. Up until that point, they seemed to be naked or scantily clad. In season 4, they start wearing armor. So there's a fan theory that because of your death, the White Walkers then started wearing armor to protect themselves from the dragon glass in season 4. I mean, was there any sort of truth behind that, or any mention of it on set as to why?
Very interesting. To be honest with you, it's the first time that I have ever heard that fan theory. So, I mean, it was certainly nothing that was spoken about. I was told basically that the White Walker I played in seasons 2 and 3 is like the pigeon. They put pigeons down the tunnel for gas. They send the low key warrior guy out first to see if it's safe, and so it is very possible that they had enough sense to kind of put some armor on. I know that ultimately it's easier for them to work with us if we're covered more with actual clothing and armor than if we're just if you're working with a complete body prosthetic, mostly because it rips easily enough. So when the character starts to develop a bit more, and it was ultimately then played by Vlad, who had to do a lot of sword fighting and fighting scenes, that would rip the suit. That'll just wear and tear the suit a lot. So covering it with clothing is probably advisable generally. But good fan theory, I think, and very good kind of story blocking, I think. Yeah, why not? It does make sense.
Yeah. I'd seen a couple of your earlier interviews. One of the questions you seemed to be asked a lot was what you would like to see the White Walkers doing, and you'd said a lot that you'd like to see them sort of involved in fights.
Yeah.
So what was your take on Hardhome, how that sort of then happened?
Awesome. Brilliant. I wished I had gotten to do some fighting, but ultimately the decision to start having the White Walkers played by stunt guys was the best decision they could make, because they can go for it. They can really, really go for it. And they're also licensed and they have insurance on them. And, I'm not a licensed or insured stunt guy. I thought the work was magnificent. I thought all of the stuff was really beautiful, from you know, the big fight with Jon Snow to the last season, you know, the big night fight, all that was really wild. I loved it. I think Vlad did a brilliant job, you know.
He did indeed. Did indeed.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you on that. So you continued to watch the show then after right
Oh
up to
yeah.
the season?
Yeah.
I mean, who
Yes.
would have been your
Because I liked it. Because I like the show, and also, you know, I do a lot of interviews and a lot of Comic Cons. So if I don't, it just feels, you know, it would probably be really like annoying for me to just go, I don't know, I've not seen the show. You know, just be like,
who would have been your favorite character from the whole 8 seasons, or your favorite scene from the show?
oh yeah, that's easy for me.
Yeah,
Cersei is my favorite character.
I'd say yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to say, if I think back on where I felt most pleased watching the show, was maybe I was in a very dark mood, but I loved when she finally got back and she blew up the church and killed everybody, right? I loved that. She just like sipping wine and the whole bloody church blows to smithereens. And then she's torturing that woman who, you know, shame. She had her tied up and she poured wine all over her face. Man, I loved that. I think I rewound it and I watched that episode twice. I loved it. I thought it was like what you really want from an evil Disney queen, you know? It was so rotten to the core, but it was also like, you know, she got revenge on these, you know, it was a double thing, you know, like when she was shamed and she made to walk that walk of shame naked. She deserved it, I suppose, in the realm of the story, but I wanted her to get revenge. You know, you want her to have that revenge. I was disappointed with the last season that Cersei had such a kind of weakish ending. I thought I didn't feel we saw enough of her in the last season, and I didn't really buy into feeling sorry for her or sympathetic towards her by the end. I wanted a much worse ending for her. You know, she had done so many horrible things. Like she deserved a horrible, horrible ending.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe I'm just sick.
I enjoyed the end. Personally, you know, I thought it was you know, very symbolic and poetic. Her and Jamie came into the world together as twins, and then you know, exited sort of in these other's arms with, you know, where she'd spent the vast majority of her time, you know, in the Red Keep, coming down to with them.
So you liked that? You liked that ending?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. I wasn't crazy about it. I mean, it was good. It was dramatic, but
you just wanted a more violent death for her, yeah.
I wanted something really like, you know, drawn and quartered. I thought Game of Thrones would have given us something really grueling for her. I mean, she did some awful things to people.
Yeah.
They were pretty brutal. The whatchamacallit, the mountain and scorpion, that death was wild.
The floating
head. Ba-boom!
Yeah.
Whoa. Red Wedding was just a step too far for me, you know?
Just too far, yeah.
Yeah. Una Chaplin's death was probably, I wished I'd never seen that. I'm going back to, you know, a pregnant woman being stabbed. I was just like, that was too much for me. Too much.
It was shocking, and another fantastic sort of end to the, you know, the seasons. You know, the season finales were just up there. You know, they keep you hooked on wanting you to sort of wait.
Yeah, sometimes they just make you feel sick, and you wanted more. It was crazy.
Yeah. You've spent an awful lot of time. You're a big fan favorite conventions. What do you enjoy most about conventions and meeting the fans?
Well, meeting the fans. That's the big draw, right? Meeting people who are so profoundly moved by a television show. I grew up profoundly moved by television shows myself, which is why I went into this industry. I'm so absolutely 100% honored and delighted that my career has taken me into a direction where that, you know, that anybody would want to meet or see me or like my work is just an absolute honor. Um, and I know what it's like to meet people that, you know, have had a really big impact on my life. So it's an absolute pleasure to go to them. I mean, I also get to meet with other actors who I've worked with over the years, or some of them I've known before they were famous, like Miltos. Or, you know, I recently did a convention in Dortmund, Germany, and I saw Lisa Silverstone, who I was a runner for on a talk show back in the 90s, you know, and I went up to her and I said, "Hey, like we've met before." And she went, "Oh God, have we?" And I said, "I was a runner for you on, you know, All Right on the Night back in the 90s." And she said, "Was I really horrible to you?" And I was like, "No, you were actually really nice." She's like, "Oh, thank God, that's good. Okay." So, you know, conventions are great. You know, I've met crazy people like Freddy Krueger and, you know, some really cool, you know, like I used to watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
I met the sister and the mother who I thought were really cool. You know, you meet people at these conventions that it's really wild to meet up with them again. It takes me all over the world, which is absolutely brilliant. But it's always the fans. And what's always really cool to me is no matter where I go in the world, you know, like whether it's Mexico City or like London or Paris or New York, or wherever I am, the fans are kind of always the same, which is great. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of makes you, you know, in a world where we live in these divisive times and it feels like we're all really divided. What is really wonderful is you go to Mexico City and Game of Thrones fans or Doctor Who fans are just kind of the same as Doctor Who and Game of Thrones fans anywhere in the world. They're just Mexican or they're just Americans, but you know, you all share a same language, right? That's quite beautiful. That's a really lovely thing.
It is like a big community. I mean, we
Yeah.
were lucky enough to go to a handful of conventions in America last year, and something that blew me away was the time and the effort that they put into the costumes for the cosplay. You know,
Oh yeah.
they're fantastic. Some of them, you know, and the ideas that they come up with, and the just the
Yeah.
detail that goes into the, you know, just the word for a day at a convention, and you know,
Yeah.
the people that come back to the conventions, you know, and do all 3 days, and they'll have a like a fantastic different costume for each day of the convention.
It's wild. I mean, it's mind blowing. I've last year in New Jersey, I was one of the judges on a cosplay competition, and they were just so fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can be really moving too when you see little kids dressing up as stuff. You also see, you know, like in my time in the 1970s when I was growing up, to be a geek or a nerd was, you know, the pits. You were bullied constantly.
yeah,
Now we live in a time where the geek and the nerd are, it's a time of celebration, you know? So it's
yeah,
really wonderful to see, you know, kids that are a little bit different or walk a different road, teenagers finding a place there is just, it's incredible. And I love instilling some sort of you know, confidence in them to encourage them to be who they are and, you know, to express themselves and to be inspired to create new stuff in the future for us, you know. um yeah, it's a wonderful thing, the convention center. I think I have to say though, one of my favorite cosplays that I saw was last year, I think somewhere where I'm not sure where I was, but it was in the UK, and it was basically a group of 60, 70-year-olds dressed up as the cast of Scooby-Doo, because that's how old Scooby-Doo cast would be now. So it was
yeah.
like seeing them, what they looked like, what they would be like now, because they'd be probably in their late 60s, early 70s, right?
True. Yeah.
And it was really cool. It made me man, it really blew my mind and made me laugh. I loved it.
With Game of Thrones, then, if you could pick one moment or one thing that you took away from your time in Game of Thrones, what would it be, and what did you most enjoy about? Well, you spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland, you were saying, growing up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what one thing about Belfast or Northern Ireland was most enjoyable for you?
Well, my father passed away in March of 2011, and I got cast in Game of Thrones in September of that year. If my father could only have seen that I not only was working in Northern Ireland, he would have just been so blown away by that. But also riding a horse. I think my father would have, because he was brought up on a farm, right? So all my family up there, they're all farmers. I think the last time I'd been on a horse was when I was 5 years old on my uncle William's, my uncle David's farm. He put me on his horse, and I was really scared, and they took me off. I would have loved my dad to have seen that, but I kind of imagine he had a hand in that somehow, that he kind of divinely intertwined that. So for me, it was really a coming home to work up in Northern Ireland and to be close to my family up there. For me, it is my, I grew up in Montreal in Canada, but I always felt like this country, the UK, Northern Ireland, this was the side of the ocean I kind of always belonged on, and I've ended up in. And I love animals. Like, I hugely love animals. I have a cat, and I grew up with dogs, and, I loved the farm. So to learn how to ride a horse was an incredibly special experience for me. Deeply honored that I was able to have that time. Also to learn one-on-one with a stunt person is just brilliant. So for me, it's the horse and the connection with Ireland, really.
Yeah. So what's next for Ross Mullan? Anything in the pipeline that you can talk to us about or discuss?
Yes, I can. I've been cast in a movie called The Wretched, where it's about a 300-year-old vampire who has not fed for a very long time. He's not fed for like a very long time. And it's a beautiful piece. I'm playing the vampire in it with not a lot of prosthetic, unusually. Okay. I don't know what that says about my horrific face, but yeah, it's a beautiful script. It'll be shot, I believe, as it stands, it'll be shot in black and white. And it'll be like a sort of a Nosferatu metropolis German expressionistic style to it. And I'm very excited. We should be shooting it right now, but unfortunately, because of lockdown, it's been postponed. But the producer is very positive that will be a very positive thing. He felt he needed more time anyway. Hopefully that'll work in our favor. So that's what I'm going to be on as soon as we can go back to work. I also am producing a short film called Pocket Full of Bread based on a play I did last year. It's a Romanian piece. It's a little bit political. It's a little bit comedy. It's a little bit crazy. It's about two guys standing around a well, and there's a dog at the bottom of the well. And it's a little bit waiting for Godot. It's good. It's a good script. Yeah. And I've got a good screenwriter on it. So those are my two big projects. Hopefully get back to the convention circuit. Next Saturday, I'm going to be doing this coming Friday, I'm doing Virtucon in America. So I'm doing like virtual cons at the moment. And I'm booking a lot of cameos on Cameo. You can book me on Cameo from a shout out from the White Walker. That's what I'm doing. So those are my projects, keeping myself as busy as possible.
Yeah, the virtual cons seem to be something that's picking up a lot. I know that they're going to be doing that as well.
They're a lot of fun. They've got their merit, and it's interesting. It's a place. This is what we can do for now. So
yeah. Well, hopefully it's not too much longer until you get back to your projects. I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again, Ross, for coming on to this interview. A little thank you. There's a little thank you. What we like to give all our guests is one of our Wolf and Crow stickers, vinyl stickers.
Hey.
We'll get our details off you so we can send that across. And
Cool.
you can keep that forever, Ross. You remember this interview?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So again, thank you once again. And all that leaves us for then is a sign out. So guys, thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And join us next time for another awesome interview from the cast and crew that went into making Game of Thrones for the watch. Well, what do you think of that?
Awesome. Like, I love, that whole thing of creature work,
Yeah.
It's class. That would be a fucking fantastic job they have, man. Just some I'm sure the preparation of getting into costumes and stuff like that must be tedious and stuff like that there. Like,
Yeah.
All the cool shit you get to do, The only
Yeah.
thing as well is, it's being like that with wearing masks and stuff, playing creatures all the time and stuff like that there. You never really get recognized for it, which, could be a plus for some people.
Yeah.
But not great. He's just a lovely, well-spoken guy as well, So
He is.
Sweet.
I say he's another regular, usually on the conventions.
Yeah.
So
well, I think as well because it's the same. He's very personable, and you can tell that's why he's good in conventions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very friend. It's just exactly the same as Maltos, and they're very not they that the rest of the cast of Game of Thrones wouldn't be good at conventions, but these guys are very convention friendly.
They've nailed the convention circuit. Look. Yeah.
Oh,
you can check out Ross this Friday then at Virtucon. We'll have a wee link down in the description so you can check Ross out on Friday.
Awesome. Nice one. Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Also, there is a bell. You ring that bell, you will find out whenever there is new Wolf and Cruise content for you to look at. Live stream, fuck me, we've got you covered there. That bell will tell you when that's on as well. And there's a join button there if you want to fucking what do you call it? Click the join button and fucking you can get balls deep into our content. Alright? So lethal, brilliant, class.
Right. We're obviously going to be bringing some more interviews lined up while people are stuck in their homes and cannot escape us.
It's a thing that we've realised.
Yeah.
You can't say you're fucking busy now. Do you know what I mean? We're contacting everybody. Do you know what I mean? God help them if there's a scene on that Instagram message. We know you're doing fuck all. Give us an interview.
What else we got? Tomorrow night, Wednesday night rewatches. We are doing season 2, episode 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. That'll be on tomorrow night. Join us at 7 p.m. for that live interactive discussion.
So the great interviews just keep on coming. So it's great, lovely, fantastic. There's only one thing left to do, Bobby, and that's really the end of the video. Robert Bardo, go
For the watch.
Hi. See you next time. But also remember,